Great Expectations, the 13th novel by Charles Dickens, written in 1861, which shows all the disappointments and fallen hopes of the main character, an orphan boy from a simple peasant family, Pip. Through the transformation of Pip's life, we can perfectly see the main idea of the book. True happiness does not always depend on social status or wealth, but can be found through inner change, sincerity, and relationships with others. Pip is raised by his sister and her husband Joe, a blacksmith. Mrs. Joe is seen as an antagonist, constantly punishing Pip and reminding him that she raised him by hand, while Joe, on the other hand, is Pip's best friend. Pip takes a job at Miss Havisham's house, where he falls in love with her adopted daughter Estella. Because of his unrequited love, he wants to become a better person. This is a major internal conflict for him, as he is dissatisfied with his social status and intellectual abilities. Years later, Pip becomes Joy's apprentice and no longer visits Miss Havisham. Then, in a local bar, Pip meets a solicitor who tells him that Pip has received a large inheritance. However, to administer it, Pip must be trained in London and become a gentleman. Whilst in London, Pip is taught by a relative of Miss Havisham, and he gradually becomes a man driven by greed. He treats Joe badly when he comes to visit him, and then he learns that Estella is marrying someone else. He also receives a visit from his benefactor, an escaped prisoner whom he met in the swamp as a child and helped him. At the end, benefactor dies. Pip returns to Miss Havisham's house and meets Estella, after which together they live holding hands. Watching Pip, we can realize that he becomes a gentleman only a fraction of the time to impress a woman who is incapable of loving him back. Pip is intelligent and calculating, but when he chooses social status over friendship, he realizes he has betrayed those he cared about. Estella is an unhappy girl. Her guardian, Miss Havisham, raised her without love out of her own sense of revenge against her spouse who abandoned her. She wanted Estella to deceive men and break their hearts. Joe is a kind blacksmith and Pip's best friend who supports him even when Pip has turned his back on him. Joe is genuinely pleased when he hears that Pip may move to London and become a gentleman. Miss Havisham is an aged woman who lives in her past because of the betrayal of a loved one. She is so fixated and concentrated on the trauma that not only poor Estella tolerates her behavior, but also other visitors to her home. Abel Magwitch is Pip's secret benefactor, who repaid Pip for helping him when he was an escaped prisoner. All his time he was a sailor and gave money to Pip. He is a kind man who was framed by his acquaintance, which is the reason he went to prison. The book is profound in meaning, as quotes such as, "Chance doesn't come to a man, but one has to catch it." This quote is about situations that we can only succeed if we put in the proper effort and act towards our goal. No amount of varnishing can hide the fiber of wood. The more varnish you put on, the clearer the fiber comes out. This quote suggests that a person's true nature is always visible, even if he or she is diligently pretending. For example, if a man is not a gentleman in his mental qualities, it is reflected in his appearance and manners. If you want to be extraordinary, you have to do it with the truth, but you will never achieve anything with lies. It says that you should not try to remake your personality by covering yourself with lies. On the contrary, you should open up to the world and show your unique traits as they are, rather than disfiguring them or inventing new ones that do not suit you and because of which you will not be able to show the real you. The book is full of not only profound quotes but also unusual or new words such as churchward, blacksmith, apprentice, and others. I would recommend reading this book to everyone, as it clearly demonstrates the transformation of people's personality, which is very relevant in our time. Some may see themselves in the story, and some may see a person they don't want to become. In any case, the story changes people, as to me it showed a person chasing after imaginary happiness. Thanks to this book, I realized that I don't need to prove anything to anyone, and live my life the way I see fit, and be truly satisfied and fulfilled.